Sylvester Stallone is more than a Hollywood icon. His name carries the weight of determination, grit, and the kind of resilience that feels almost mythical. For decades, audiences have watched him embody characters like Rocky Balboa and John Rambo, men who refuse to stay down no matter how many times life knocks them to the ground. These roles became part of global culture, symbols of perseverance that continue to inspire people across generations. But what makes Stallone's story truly powerful is that the strength we see on screen was never just acting. It was drawn from real life. Behind the box office success, the billion-dollar franchises, and the worldwide recognition lies a journey filled with rejection, hardship, and moments of despair that tested him long before fame ever arrived. Stallone's life is not simply a tale of celebrity. It is the story of an underdog who fought relentlessly to be seen, heard, and valued in a world that often told him he didn't belong. A beginning marked by struggle. Sylvester Stallone's fight began the moment he entered the world. Born on July 6, 1946 in New York City, he experienced complications during birth that caused permanent nerve damage. The left side of his face was partially paralyzed, leaving him with a drooping lip and a distinctive slurred speech. From the start, he was marked as different, and difference often becomes a target. Childhood was not gentle. His parents' relationship was turbulent, and the home environment was filled with tension rather than comfort. Stallone often felt neglected and misunderstood, forced to navigate life without the emotional security many children take for granted. School was no escape. Classmates mocked his appearance and speech, and teachers frequently misjudged him, labeling him troublesome instead of recognizing the pain and frustration beneath his behavior. Those early years planted in him both a deep sense of isolation and a fierce instinct to defend himself against a world that seemed determined to dismiss him. Building resilience through hardship. As Stallone entered his teenage years, his struggles continued. He was expelled from multiple schools, not because he lacked intelligence or potential, but because he responded to adversity with defiance. At 16, his mother sent him to a private school in Switzerland, hoping distance would provide discipline. Instead, the experience left him lonely, disconnected, and battling depression. Far from home, surrounded by unfamiliar faces, Stallone faced moments where self-doubt nearly consumed him. Yet even in that darkness, something inside him refused to die. There was a spark, a stubborn belief that his life could become more than the pain he had known. Returning to America, he carried little more than ambition and a dream of acting, despite the fact that the industry often dismissed him before he even opened his mouth. New York in the late 1960s was unforgiving to dreamers, and Stallone endured rejection after rejection. Casting directors criticized his speech, his looks, and his unconventional presence. To survive, he worked odd jobs, including cleaning cages at the Central Park Zoo. He slept on benches, went hungry, and lived in poverty so severe that at one point he was forced to sell his beloved dog, a heartbreaking decision that symbolized just how desperate his circumstances had become. Still, he refused to quit. The moment that changed everything. In 1975, Stallone's life reached a turning point. Watching a boxing match between Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner, he was struck by the underdog spirit of a fighter who refused to go down quietly. Wepner's determination reflected Stallone's own struggle to survive in a world that underestimated him. Inspired, Stallone poured his pain, hope, and relentless ambition into a script written in just a few days. That script became Rocky, a story about a nobody given one chance to prove his worth. But writing it was only the beginning. Hollywood studios offered Stallone large sums of money for the screenplay, but they wanted a bigger star to play the lead role. Stallone refused. He understood that Rocky's authenticity depended on him embodying the character. His insistence on starring in his own story was an act of courage that defined his career. He was willing to risk everything rather than surrender his dream. Breakthrough against all odds. Eventually, after intense negotiation, the studio agreed to let Stallone play Rocky, though the film was made with a limited budget and enormous pressure. Filming in Philadelphia was challenging, with borrowed equipment and a cast and crew working tirelessly under tight constraints. Stallone infused every scene with his own lived experience, the hunger, rejection, and desperation of an underdog fighting for dignity. When Rocky premiered in 1976, it was an instant phenomenon. Audiences saw themselves in the story, and critics were moved by Stallone's raw authenticity. The film became a global success, grossing over $200 million worldwide, winning the Academy Award for Best Picture, and earning Stallone nominations for Best Actor and Best Screenplay. Overnight, the man who had been invisible, mocked, and dismissed became impossible to ignore. Becoming an icon of a generation, the success of Rocky opened doors Stallone never imagined. Sequels followed, each one expanding the legend. Rocky II, Rocky III, and Rocky IV turned the franchise into a cultural powerhouse, with themes of perseverance resonating across the world. Stallone's rise continued with the introduction of John Rambo in First Blood in 1982. Unlike Rocky's hopeful underdog spirit, Rambo represented trauma, survival, and the scars of war. Stallone brought depth and humanity to the character, making him more than an action figure. The Rambo films became global hits, cementing Stallone as one of the defining action heroes of the era. At his peak, he commanded millions per film, lived in luxury, and became a symbol of strength. Yet beneath the success, Stallone remained connected to the underdog spirit that had shaped him. When the world turns away, the 1990s brought a new kind of challenge. Hollywood shifted, audiences wanted different styles, and Stallone's once celebrated image began to feel less in demand. Several films during this period failed critically and commercially, and the man who had once dominated the box office suddenly faced the harsh reality of decline. Professional setbacks were compounded by financial struggles and the emotional weight of feeling forgotten. For Stallone, it was a painful reminder that resilience is not a single victory. It is something tested repeatedly throughout life. The world that once applauded him now questioned his relevance, but Stallone refused to let failure define him. Reinvention through honesty. Rather than surrender, Stallone returned to the character that had saved him, Rocky Balboa. Writing and starring in Rocky Balboa, he created a story about an aging fighter confronting time, mortality, and legacy. The film mirrored Stallone's own life, making it deeply personal. When it premiered, it was more than entertainment. It was proof that comebacks are possible at any stage of life. Stallone showed that reinvention requires humility, courage, and the willingness to embrace one's truth. The underdog was back, not as a young man chasing glory, but as a seasoned fighter proving that spirit does not fade with age. The true meaning of strength. Stallone's life is a masterclass in persistence. From a difficult birth to childhood hardship, from poverty to rejection, he embodies the truth that strength is forged through struggle. His refusal to compromise his vision, whether insisting on playing Rocky or returning after setbacks, demonstrates the power of determination. Stallone teaches that true success is not measured by fame or fortune, but by the courage to keep going when the odds feel impossible. Every punch thrown on screen carried the weight of real battles fought off screen. A legacy that goes beyond film. Sylvester Stallone's legacy is not only in box office numbers or awards. It lives in the message his life communicates. Adversity does not define you. Rejection can become fuel, and perseverance is the truest measure of character. Rocky Balboa and John Rambo endure because they reflect the man who created them, a fighter who never quit. Stallone's story continues to inspire because it mirrors life itself. We all face setbacks, doubts, and struggles, but his journey proves that resilience, vision, and heart can carry us through. Sylvester Stallone stands today not just as a legendary actor, but as a symbol of the enduring human spirit. The reminder that no matter how hard life hits, it is always possible to rise again.